Man, should videotape the whole conference.
Yeah, probably I might run out of space at this point.
What's that?
Oh, there's only so much video space there.
Yeah. Okay, well, this is our last crack at this thing individually, before coming together in combination tomorrow. So, gee.
Alright. So, yeah, Panpsychism. This is, I think, some people may have deduced, the closest I could come to William James's bunch of guys crowded together. We want to somehow get, you know, maybe a picture like that, or maybe something like that. I don't know. But the concept being, I'd like to try to provide some ways that we can more easily visualize what exactly it is that we're looking for, what the desiderata are, and where. So, in introduction, I like to say stuff that has kind of been said already a few times, that the combination problem is just one problem. We've got, when I say, three smaller problems. Of course, they're still quite big, all of them. The first, the problem of cohesion or binding. How do the macro subjects emerge from the micro subjects? We also have the problem of derivation. I think, and I forgot to close parentheses there, sorry, that Colin McGame's hard questions response to Galen's paper, called Hard Questions, is a really good treatment of this. How do macro experiences emerge from micro experiences? Of course, McGame's treatment is that it's impossible. I don't think that it is. But as I've stressed a few times, I think that a really big problem here is the problem of imagining the phenomenal nature of the ultimates, whether they be the subjects or the experiences, or both at the same time. I guess I would again compare this to if we knew, as we kind of seem to, the macro physical facts about the world, and we decided we want a theory of the micro physical, how it leads to the macro physical. But we knew nothing at all about the nature of state force, or whatever ultimates you like. It doesn't seem like you're ever going to be able to get a story that's going to be satisfactory if you don't have some story there. So, again, I'd like to kind of look at some real-world physical phenomena that could help us to sort of envision answers to these problems. Some quick qualifications again. Where exactly micro comes in, who knows? It could be strings, quarks, atoms, maybe thermostats, or Hammond microtubules, maybe just cells. It doesn't really matter. I think that the same problems kind of apply wherever you say micro is. This is all going to be kind of in the context of panpsychism, but I think any sort of Darwinian, which is to say, continuous form of panpsychism is going to face the same challenges. Anything that would deny, say, that humans are the only beings or entities with consciousness. So even if quarks, electrons, and the rest have only proto, these problems are going to eventually kick in, I'd say at least at the cellular or neuronal level, maybe earlier with Dave's thermostats. So whatever the story is, we still need to explain for us, say if for us we wanted to say the cellular level is the micro, still, how does that consciousness of neurons then combine into our consciousness and the experiences as well? Another qualification, of course, Galen thinks the experience and subject and content are identical. Does that mean that the cohesion problem that involves subjects and the derivation problem that involves experiences are actually the same thing? Yeah, maybe in some ways, ontologically, metaphysically, but I think as far as discussion goes, it is epistemically useful to consider these problems in isolation, because as most of us, even Galen, would intuitively understand subject and experience. They do have some different characters and characteristics. So, anyhow, first problem, the cohesion of subjects. Where exactly do they come from? Or how can a multitude, individually experiential ultimates, add up to a single unified subject? Again, this starts since 2006. We have this sort of kosher emergence, as I like to call it, because we've got like from like. We have big experiences coming out of small experiences. And this is why, against Goff's 2009, although several people, again, have said it, I think that all things being equal, panpsychism is just going to be preferable to physicalism. There isn't this ontological cost that is somehow implied in panpsychism. It just makes more sense. The to get like from like than get like from not like. And I think it's actually more parsimonious to propose there's just one type of matter in the universe rather than unconscious physical ultimates and then conscious macro objects like us. So in this sense, you could say physicalism is really dualism because it is proposing that there's this unconscious stuff and then there's conscious stuff. So then again, even if these three combination problems remain unsolved, I think panpsychism wins, but we could try a little bit harder than that. So again, what many people I think have sort of hit on with the anti-constitutive lines, that just combination doesn't seem like it's going to solve the combination problem or the cohesion problem part of it. There doesn't seem to be any reason to think that variological sums just become these single unified objects, so that me and the Eiffel Tower could also be a conscious being. There's got to be something else going on here. We need some sort of cohesion, coherence, binding, integration, organization, whatever you want to call it. This is what I think the cohesion problem is all about. I also don't think, unfortunately, this is an example, of course, that Galen gives in his 2006 paper, that we could make an analogy to liquidity as a type of kosher emergence. Say, sure, you put a bunch of H2 molecules in a bucket, and now you have a liquid where you did not before. But it seems that if you put a bunch of microconscious, or whatever they are, particles in a bucket, you don't seem to get a macro subject. And likewise, if you take a conscious brain and you put it in a blender, you don't get, you may get a liquid at that point, but you're not going to get a coherent macro subject. This is where I think Dave's organizational argument, the classic thermostat argument comes in. Yes, to be an organization qua system, then you get experience qua macro subject. So thermostats would have it, rocks would not. But also, as Dave sort of says at the same time in that in the book, there's a potential problem here because information does seem to be everywhere in the universe. So what is it exactly that it is making the difference between rocks and everything else? So one thing I would like to kind of suggest is that consider, say, this electrical device I'm using right here, and all really in this room, they rely on the flow of these multitudinous, countless, really, from our perspective, electrons through silicon, which, again, it's almost we get to the rock thing where something's going on here. It's made out of sand material, basically, but it seems like it's set up in a system in a way that just the sand on the beach isn't quite a system. So the question is, how is it that all these individual electrons going through this substrate, which is kind of physically the same as a rock, actually then constitute an electromagnetic device that's capable of showing a picture, doing a bunch of calculations? If I have speakers plugged in, it could maybe make some sounds. It seems like you have to say that no individual electron in that flow actually carries the full picture, the full sound, full calculations, and it doesn't even seem quite right to say that somehow all of the picture sounding calculations are broken up, and this electron is carrying this tiny corner here and another one there. But together they do, when we get this emergent picture that you're looking at right now. So do we have a cohesion problem then for electromagnetism? I would think most people would say we don't. But if we don't, then why is this really as bad a problem as we tend to think it is for panpsychism? Why is it this sort of deal breaker? Yes, we don't exactly have the explanation, but we do at least have an example of how you can have these individual kind of indistinguishable as far as their charge or properties, electrons flowing through some substrate, and you get all sorts of technicolor phenomenology, as it were, being coming out of the device. So again, sort of on this view, you could say, well, electromagnetism is everywhere in the universe, but not everything is an electromagnetic device. So could it be the same with consciousness? And that consciousness is fundamental, it's everywhere. Not everything is a conscious device. And that, yeah, this is how then we could get from micro to macro subjects. Again, sort of extending this electromagnetic device analogy, I wonder if maybe corresponding to the notion of electromagnetic circuit, there could be such a thing as an experiential circuit, and that would be us, obviously. And so we would have this closed circuit, an insulated experiential circuit, and this, it seems, could kind of account for that subjective feeling of standing apart from the universe. So I'm in my own little bubble of consciousness and I can't really experience any of yours. I am a closed and insulated experiential circuit. I think that video feedback is a really cool example of this. Of course, so does Hofstadter. His book, I Am a Strange Loop, is basically riddled with little pictures of video feedback experiments that he's done. I'd like to really quickly, if I might, I can't touch the screen. Do that, that, and that. Let's just do that. Oh. Says logging successfully. My time's ticking down. What's going on?
Your computer has the feeling of standing apart from the world.
Yeah, apparently so. It's not really cooperating.
I think the internet.
Well, I love how you can see that the 29 minutes and then 30 seconds.
There's a start browsing button underneath.
It's not.
Give it time.
Yeah, sure. So anyhow, yes, video feedback, just to explain, if you don't already know what it is you've got a video camera that is broadcasting its image to a television screen, so that you can see, like when you go up by a security camera or whatnot, and there's a television there and you see yourself on it. So then what you do is you turn the camera onto the television screen so that what the video camera is filming is the output from the video camera. And at a zoomed out and simple level, you get like nested images within images, but hopefully if this works. Alright, I'm going to refresh that and then share this. Thank you so much. So yes, you end up getting, if you zoom in on that nested image within an image thing, the nested image within an image kind of disappears and you start seeing very complex behavior within that image. And if this doesn't work within 15 seconds, I'll just show you the still frames. Alright, here we go. So yeah, this is, I think this guy probably maybe had a little bit more filtering on the system than standard, but honestly I've gotten the same stuff that's pretty much just as cool as this, just literally from pointing the camera at the television. So you get this really pretty amazingly complex and entrancing phenomenon going on. So I wonder, is there maybe something like that going on with us? As Hofstadter said, I am a strange loop. Is it something where we have a camera that becomes pointed on the television screen image, and as it were, that's sort of what's going on to generate the experiences that we have, and to constitute what it is to be a subject who is capable of experiences. So that's probably enough for right now. Let me get back to the main event. Yeah, and those are the ones I was going to use if the video weren't. So another possibility that I wonder about is parallel to Bose-Einstein condensates. Not obviously going to take you to this website, but these are the people actually ended up actually not discovering them, well, in a sense, making them, turning them from theory to reality. As the website says, in a Bose-Einstein condensate, all the atoms are absolutely identical, and there is no possible measurement that can tell them apart. This is somewhat different than, say, Sam's gold example, where you have a bunch of gold atoms, and then sure, you can put them into a blob of golden ring, whatever. But see, you have some very cold atoms, and they're all packed very close together. But when it gets to be an actual Bose-Einstein condensate, they really do become this uber